How's it going? We're finally at the end of the deck check adventure. We have analyzed all the decks I possibly wanted to analyze with that site. I've been able to gather my opinions about the functionality, about how it works, about things that it could improve on, and it still leaves a lot to be desired here, but today I want to start off as part of a multi-part series regarding these decks and what I want to accomplish, my opinions, things like that. First, let's go through a breakdown of my deck collection so you guys have a very clear idea as to the kind of Magic player that I am. I only play Commander. I do not play Standard. I do not play Pauper. I do not play Modern. I do not play any of those other formats. I only play Commander, and I've never played CEDH, but, you know, that's besides the point. So, let's get started with some facts so you guys can see clear and concisely what it is that I do and what I handle and what I deal with. So first off, let's go with color identity. Now, a precursor to this, I have no 4-color commanders. I don't have Ink, I don't have Dune, I don't have Yor, I don't have Witch, and I think I'm missing one of them. Glint, Ink, Yor, Witch, Dune. I think, I can't remember, right? That's neither here nor there. I have no 4-color commanders. I did want to build one, but we'll get to that in a bit. So, mono-color commanders, we got one deck, one black, one white, and one green, and we have 2 red and 2 blue. A total of 7 decks in mono-colors. I do feel that I'm going to have to increase the amount of mono-colored decks. I do have other mono-colored commanders, but we'll get to that as we get to that. So that's mono-colors. I'll be able to post them right here, the graphics for this stuff. For 2-color commanders, specifically the Ravnica guilds, I'm not gonna use the other ones like Prismari, Witherbloom, and all that shit. It's Ravnica. Let's just stick with one that's easy to remember. So Azorius, Boros, and Orzhov have 1 each. We have Golgari, Dimir, and Gruul at 2 each. We got Rakdos with 3, Simic with 4, and Izzet and Selesnya 5. That's a lot for Izzet and Selesnya, though I will say that for Izzet, Simic, and even the mono red, which is Sarkhan, I technically don't count those 3 as far as being part of, let's say, the actual count, or their defaults at least, because let's say I decide later on to break apart an Izzet and a Selesnya deck to not have so many of those. I can't do that with my Otters deck because you can't put those cards anywhere else and you can't reconstruct it. It is merely what it is. Same thing with Sarkhan. Even between those 2 decks, which have the same quality proxies, the same card stock, the same finish, the same everything, you can't necessarily switch some of those cards around. It's kind of iffy to do that. So for those, technically 4 Izzet decks and 3 Simic decks, because also Clement the Warrior is the other proxy. But nonetheless, that's the total of all the Ravnica guilds. Also, hopefully I have a graph for you to see. The shards and the clans, we have Jund, Mardu, Grixis, Jeskai and Sultai first at 1 each. 1 Jeskai, 1 Sultai. Jund, Mardu, Grixis, and Absent have 2. We have Bant, Naya, and Temur at 3, and Esper has 4. Again, when you actually look at your collection, you don't think you have. I didn't think I had that many Esper decks. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I don't even understand why I do have that many Esper decks. It's weird. I got my Sidri right here with the Winry proxy. I got Yanet. I got Queza, and I guess there I don't count Ishtola because that's one of the Final Fantasy ones. I don't want to break that one apart because I want one of each of the Final Fantasy ones. Although the other 3 I didn't include them because I didn't find it pertinent. Those are pretty much unchanged. And finally, we got the 2 Wooburg decks, which is my Ramos Dragon Engine and my Jared Carthalion. That one pretty much is almost the same as it was out of the box, but that's neither here nor there. So, again, hopefully all in graphs right here so you guys can see the visual representation of everything. I do want to get to a point where I have a more fair distribution of the color identities as far as how many I have of each, at least a minimum of 2. And also not trying to have too many of the same goddamn color combination. Specifically Selesnya, that one is just ridiculous. 5 is far more than anyone could possibly need. I guess I could break one apart, and certainly Esper, one of them could be broken apart. I'd have to decide, and it'd break my heart to see which one has to go. Though I don't know. It's either that, or I have to have more decks built, and I have to take the time to make more decks for each of the ones that only have one color. Now, before going any further, oh, by the way, a total of all this is about 56 decks. Not about, it is 56 decks. You see those Hogwarts deck boxes at the top? I say don't think you can. I'm not sure if you can, but hopefully I've framed it so you can see them right up there. Those have the Bloomburrow decks, which as we know has a Golgari, a Gruul, a Jeskai, and a Bant. Didn't include them. I have all the Tarkir precons. Didn't include those because they haven't been changed. You know the deck list. You can buy the decks yourself. Didn't really find it pertinent. I did the same thing for the Ahoy Mateys, the Blood Rights, and the Simic Merfolk one from Ixalan. Those three precons. Geshath was different. That one I changed it quite a bit, and I thought I ramped it up more than I did, but still, it's not the same as it would be out of the box. So, oh, and not to mention the Final Fantasy ones, the three others that didn't include, which was Cloud, Titus, and Terra. So technically you're looking at about 15 decks that weren't included in this collection. It would have been 71, but you can buy those. There's no point in including them. Oh, I also have Counterintelligence from Edge of Eternities and the Living Energy from Aether Drift. So that's 17 more decks, I think. It would have been above 70. But the ones that I showcased at one point or another were modified enough to be necessarily distinct from what you could have bought. And so that's why those precons aren't included. I'm of course also including there my Sliver Grave Mother one and the These Are the Restless one. So these are the decks that you've seen have enough changes in them to where they're not necessarily that easy to put together just by buying a simple precon and looking at some of them. Maybe they are, I don't know. I don't have that big of an extensive collection, so maybe they're very, very easy to make, and so a lot of them are cheap. We're going to get to that. So Commander rankings, we have 8 commanders in the top 100, 4 of which are in the top 50, and 2 of them are in the top 10. Edgar Markov, number 2, at 44,000. It helms 44,538 decks, and Y'shtola at number 4, 38,672 decks. I did not realize Y'shtola was that popular. I swear to Christ, I did not. That kind of played into the reason why I wanted to include it in the list and why I changed around a couple of things and made it a little bit stronger, but still, I couldn't have imagined, right? In fact, I think people praise the Titus and the Cloud one far more than they did the Y'shtola, but I don't know. It's besides the point. The 7 commanders ranked 2,000 or lower. 4 of them are in the 2,000s and 3 of them in the 3,000s. The lowest ranked commanders would be Raphael and Splinter. Raphael the Muscle and Splinter the Mentor. Only at ranked at number 3,554, only helming 45 decks. I kind of don't think that's a fair way to put it though, because partners and backgrounds are the ones that are always near the bottom of the barrel when it comes to ranking. Some of them are more popular than others, but the ones that really aren't are really not going to be used. And there are also kinds of things where you say, why would anyone build this to begin with? Why anyone in the world would use Prismatic Piper, I don't know. I really don't know. For me, that was one of the most useless partners I've ever seen, but that's neither here nor there. So I don't really necessarily think that's the fairest, lowest ranked commander. If we're looking only at single commanders, that would be Jolene, Plundering Pugilist, number 2,532 at 205 decks. So that's the whole thing with EDH Rec. I'm not even going to touch that one because I hardly ever use the site only to look at the rankings. Scryfall doesn't have it, so it is what it is. But that's as far as commander rankings go. Now let's go over to pricing. So here it's a little bit iffy because 2 things. The 2 most expensive decks I have are proxies. So technically speaking, if I were to have the legitimate cards for my Sarkhan deck, it would be valued at $2,739. My Sarkhan deck is valued at 0 because they're proxies. They're not meant to be sold, they're just meant to be enjoyed. So that's why I say it's a little bit iffy. The other most expensive, it would be valued, which is my Bria deck, it's at $732. It's a proxy deck, worth nothing. Right? Now, my actual legitimate most expensive deck would be my Voya Jaws of the Conclave, I can't remember, at $406, Sin Unending Cataclysm at $353, Niv Mizzet Perrin at $298, and Jolene Plundering Pugilist, ironically enough, at $274. So those are the most expensive decks I have, but here we're looking at, just It's all, for me, I've never cared about the pricing. Honestly, I don't give a crap, but it is what it is. As far as the lowest, the cheapest decks I have, we have Carador, which is at $41, General Crete at $40, Renari, Merchant of Marvels at $38, and Caliphie, Beloved of the Sea, at $30. That is my cheapest deck I have. Cool. Cool. That's fantastic. If I ever need a deck under $50, that's going to be it. Right? That's got to be it. And the average price per deck is about $170, but if we take out actually, let me do that right now. I should have done that before. Give me a second. It would be from... Nope. Okay, including the 2 proxy decks that I technically don't own, but I do own in proxy form, it would mean that the average price is $170, but taking out the proxy decks, it is at $110 per deck. So, not the most expensive, rarest cards you've ever seen in your life, but I enjoy them very much, and they are mine, and will never give them up for anything in the world. So that's with price. Now, let's go over to the last section we're going to analyze in this video, and the last one that I think is pertinent, especially because we're using deckchecks.co, not sponsored, not affiliated. Site leaves a lot of things to be wished and desired, but we'll get to that. Power and crispy information here. It says the strongest decks I have: Wazatora, Nikoru Queen, Jor-El, Voice of Zalfir, and Tegwil, Duke of Splendor, all of them being at 7. So those 2 up there. My Wazatora is with Tarkir precons because they're all in the Boulder 100 pluses with Mox Jasper artwork. I love those deck boxes, very cool. So those are the strongest decks I have. The weakest decks: General Crete, the Boltbringer, Sin Unending Cataclysm, Orabo Roar of the Wild, Tristani Selesnia's Voice, and Sarkhan Dragon Ascendant at 4.5. Ironically enough, the most expensive value deck and the proxy deck that I have, which I could have made as powerful as I wanted, is one of the lowest, weakest decks I have. Go figure. And it says the most common crispy score, or the average crispy score, is a 5.75. The most common crispy score is 5.75. 11 decks I have are of a 5.75. That's the most common power level I have, and the overall average of all the decks put together is a 5.785. So only 0.035 points higher. It is what it is, right? So I'm a very, 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 very average player, and I'm not that impressive, even if I wanted to be. But there's another thing that I put in here at the end of this information that we're going to look at today, which is best price per strength value. So we're including the price with the crispy score. And my most impressively put together deck at a 7 at only $70 is my Wazatora deck. Oh, it's not over there, it's over here. Wazatora at $76. Crispy score of 7 and $76. That's pretty good. I think, I don't know. At 6.75, we have Sidri, Galvanic Genius, which is the one I have back here, at $48. We have a Chroma, Vision of Ixidor, and Kadama of the East Tree, also at a 6.5 and priced at $60. So, not also at a 6.5. 6.75 for Sidri and 6.5 for Chroma and Kadama at $60. Shabraz and Brawlin are a crispy score of 6.25 and a price of $51. So the cheapest one is Sidri, but the best value, in my opinion, would be, or I don't know, I guess they would all be good values depending on the price range and what you consider for the cards you could get. You know what? Let's just say that they're all good values. At least all the ones that I mentioned: Wazatora, Sidri, Akroma / Kadama, and Shabraz and Brawlin. I can't speak. And finally, this I guess would be the highlight of my superstar deck, which is Wazatora. I'll be honest with you, I have had a lot of, itching to make it a lot more powerful. I have thought about breaking apart Ramos' Dragon Engine to kind of boost it, but I don't know. At the same time, we're going to get to that in another video. There are functions and there are tools and there are methods for you to put in your cards, in your collection, try to boost up a deck and stuff like that, but at the same time, I want to be able to say, I built these decks. All the ones that you've seen, all the ones that you've checked, all the deck lists that you have available to you, they were made by me. Completely, 100%, no help, no kind of, aid or any kind of support from anywhere. I made them. And I think that's pretty cool. So at the same time of wanting to boost some decks and make them more powerful, I also kind of want to leave them as they are to appreciate the fact that I was able to do what I was able to do, right? But nonetheless, guys, thank you very much for watching this longer form video with all this information. There will be some time before I'm able to make the next one regarding other aspects of the site that we're going to look at and certain things I want to talk about. But I do very much want to thank you for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you guys can have the time to leave a like and a comment and check out the other videos and any particular deck lists you might be interested in. And with that said, I guess that's it for today, and I'll see you in the next one.